who I am very excited to have here. I want to give a quick bio about who he is and what he does. So Officer Shane Jasper, has been with the Tyler Police Department for over 19 years, right?
26.
26. Oh, wow. Okay, that's awesome. And so you are now serving as the Homelessness Outreach Coordinator. Your interest in police work sparked because you wanted to help people, and that's something that we can all relate to. So I want to introduce our guest speaker today, Officer Jane. I keep saying Jane Jasper. I think I'm having a tongue twister today. Shane Jasper. Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely.
In his defense, I'd much rather be called that. I've been called a lot worse. So
Okay.
James is okay with me.
Let me just make sure you're set up over here.
So I'm Officer Jasper, Shane Jasper. I've been with the city of Tyler for approximately 26 years, or just over 26 years. In that time, in my time with the police department, I worked midnight for 2 years. I worked day shift as a community relations officer, which a lot of you might not know what that is. That's what Officer Loftus is back there. She's a community relations division. And they go out and they do programs just similar to what I'm doing now. They go to churches, they go. Matter of fact, I don't know if you'll be at the church and community, but her group is in charge of helping out with the church and community that will be this Friday. So I did that for a while. While I was a community relations officer, I dealt with the homeless. I enjoyed it, but they, because of staffing, we kind of did away with that position. It wasn't really a big issue at the time. I mean, it was a big issue, but not big enough to keep that position. So I went in the office for a few years, and I got the opportunity in March of this year to start back doing the homeless outreach officer. And I enjoy it. I really do. Because a lot of people see, people on the street, and, they see people, I guess most of us, we see people, asking for money on the street. And that's the extent of the homelessness that we see, but it's way more broader than that. Today, I got a little PowerPoint. I was asked if I had a PowerPoint yesterday, and I said, no, sir, I don't. So this morning I worked on just a little bit.
And it looks great.
Thank you. The good thing for me, it's all pictures and me talking, which is the bad part for you. So, what my job now is the homeless outreach officer. Yeah, I wear a uniform, I'm a police officer, but I like to, the main thing I like to try and do is if there's someone that needs help, that's trying to get from this one situation that they're in and get back into a normal, being somewhat productive, then that's what I want to do. That's what I try and do. Get them to where they need to go to get out of this homelessness. I was telling Jared, I have just as many people calling me asking, hey, have you seen my brother? Have you seen my uncle, cousin? And so what I do is every time I make contact with a homeless person, or transit, whatever you want to call them, I write it down in my notebook. I write their name, location I contacted them, the date and time. And whenever someone calls, or if someone asks a question, hey, when's the last time you saw X? I can go through my little notebook and say, hey, I saw him here on this date. And a lot of times, they might not be there, but they'll be in that general area. So I'm able to help families out whenever they call asking for, just last week, someone called asking about their brother who's schizo, and he was really bad into this situation where he really didn't know his family anymore. So once I figured out who she was talking about, went back through my notes and was able to say, hey, I contacted him on Front Street and he's doing all right. She's like, well, and that had been about 2 weeks earlier. And she was like, well, you hadn't talked to him since? I said, no, ma'am. I said, normally I talk to people that I either have to say, hey, the property owner doesn't want you on the property, or if you're, doing something you don't have any business doing. The homeless that are pretty much just, on their way, not really bothering anybody. I really don't, have to contact them all the time because they're not doing anything. And I appreciate that, them not doing that. So I thought today I would talk about, I forgot my time, till about
1:30.
1:30, okay.
You can make that.
Okay, all right, I'll shoot for it. So today I thought I'd talk about just, see if I can get this right. The homeless locations and types in Tyler. I was telling Jared, all of these, I think maybe 4 or 5 of these pictures are not Tyler, but most of them I took yesterday. This house, girl, it's here in Tyler. So the location, the types of homelessness, in the time that I've been doing this, like I said, I did it several years ago and now I'm doing it again. Kind of figured out that, there's phases to this homelessness. Sometimes, you could be living in a house and bad things happen. The city could come in and say, hey, this is not appropriate to live in, but this is the only place I got to go. So they'll put a big old red sticker on there saying nobody lives in it, but if that's the only place you got to go, only place you have to go. If you have, if you're, get evicted out of your house, apartment, wherever, and then you might go to a hotel. Who can afford a hotel daily? It gets really expensive. After you go to the hotel, don't have money, you can try the Salvation Army. What happens if you don't have an ID? Can't go to the Salvation Army. Won't let you in. So now, after that, all you have left for now is your vehicle called car camping. You have that. So start off with a house and then just working your way, now we're in a car. And this is stories that's happened here since I've been here. You're living in your car, everything's good as can be. Something turns up on your car. Well, now you gotta find a place to park it. Can't park it just anywhere. After that, it's either towed or you take it to a mechanic, but 9 times out of 10, you don't have the money. Probably 99 out of 100 times you don't have the money to fix it. So now you're in the woods or you're on the street. And so there's a different ways of, different types of homelessness. And I see, it, somebody comes in and they're asking for, they're just got out of a house. And you can tell because of the dress. They're dressed like us. And then after a while, after the wear and tear, because it's stressful. Not having a place to go. If you go to this place, and that property owner doesn't want you there, you got someone like myself saying, hey, property owner don't want you there, so you go into the next place. Same thing, if the property owner says they don't want you here, just keep moving. So this particular place here, I tried to be somewhat discreet because I don't want anybody. So if you notice something, just kind of keep it to yourself. Because what happens is, I learned this the hard way. If you tell people where certain things are, then they'll start going and that'll cause a lot of attention to that area there. And once attention is caused in that area, sometimes bad things happen, not only to the homeless, but to the person that keeps going up in that area. So I tried to be as discreet as possible. This particular, location here, it's actually a duplex. The city has, put a big red sign on saying they're gonna demo the house at some point. The people living here, they found an abandoned house and went inside. No one said they couldn't go inside. And so they made a resident out of it. I've gone inside. It is not safe at all. I can tell them that they have to leave. And, they'll not leave and then they come back. This particular place, the homeowner didn't pay the taxes, so it's kind of one of those places that's really belongs to no one, right now. Once the city tears it down, then the city will have a lien on it, will have, they'll be able to take ownership of it or eventually sell it back off to whomever. But so right now, it's kind of up in limbo. So believe it or not, there are a lot of places like this here in Tyler, maybe not all grown up like this because sometimes, there is an actual owner and they have to keep the grass cut, the shrubbery back. But there's probably 3 or 4 of these locations that I can think off my head right now that's got people living in it. Of course, there's no water, there's no electricity. There's just a place for them to get out of the elements. This is the same thing. My eyes don't work as good as, so what I thought I was taking a picture of, I didn't. So blame this one on me. Another thing, buildings. If you're just coming out of a house, most of the time you would like to, stay in an enclosed structure. And we have a lot of abandoned buildings in town. And I won't necessarily say majority of them are up in the north, but there are a lot in the south part of town as well. I didn't say this at the beginning. If you have a question, go ahead and just raise your hand and let me know. Go ahead and speak and ask the question, I'll answer it. Because if you're like me, I can think of a good question. And if I don't think of it, I may say it right then and there. And the next 20 seconds is gone to never be seen again.
I'm that same way. And I've been waiting to ask this question.
Go ahead.
I'm just waiting. But I don't know if it's just a misconception, but I've always thought that homeless people, most of them have some kind of mental illness. But we were talking about somebody who had a house, it became unlivable, they were asked to leave, and then they in a car, and that's not that doesn't sound like mental illness to me, but it just seems that and I had a friend who I was, he's passed away, but he was always taking in these homeless people. I said, Tom, you can't be doing that. This is dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And in some cases it was, but they all seem to have a little bit of mental illness issues to them. Is that typical, or is that what do you?
So there's different types of people with homeless, and I've got some slides you'll be able to tell. Like this spot behind me, this house, this building here. You see how all the trash is around? That's someone that's probably got a little mental illness to them. The first house I showed earlier, those people, they just, for some reason, they can't get a job. They can't get a job or just don't want to work. It's just, those are the same people that you'll see panhandling at the intersections. So there's a lot of mental illness, but then there's also a lot that just, I've got people that live in the woods right now. And I'm talking about from age, well, actually from age 18 on up. I got people living in the woods, but I would say from age in their mid-30s to 70 in the woods right now that actually get a check every month, has insurance, but because they don't want to have any responsibility, they're out in the woods. Now, not even one of these locations, but they're out in the woods, so. So you can tell, you would be able to tell, a lot of the people that, we see at the intersections or in the parking lots asking for money, most of the time they're not mental. Now, when I say that, they're not to the extreme where, they can't take care of themselves, they couldn't, get a job. A lot of them are just, they're lazy. And if you knew how much money they're making, there would probably be more people out there asking, begging for money if you saw how much. I stopped a couple last week at 4th and Broadway. I said, hey, you can't be in the roadway. Really standing on the sidewalk, they can do that. But once they start asking for money, the signs, that's breaking the law, the state law. And I told them, I said, you can't do that. Well, they got really upset at me because of that. And then next thing you know, the guy asked her, I heard him ask how much money we made. I'm sorry, I heard her ask him how much money they made. He's like, we made enough already. They're staying in hotels, and then they also have a drug habit. And that was at 4th and Beckham here in town. And I mean, it's just, they're mentally capable of doing something, but just, they choose not to. This building here, because it has electricity, you may know. It has electricity, and it's hard to keep people out of it because it has electricity. It's not saying that it's heated and cool, because it's not, but it has electricity. So it's just, I can run 3 people out today and tomorrow there'll be 4 more people in there. And it's a revolving door. And they, for someone who don't have tools, because I've tried to get in some of these windows that are boarded up, it ain't easy. So, but they make it easy getting off into them. Just some more pictures of that. This particular spot I put up under there because that's someone's living area. There's someone living up under there. Actually, there's probably more than one living up under there because it's a place to go. A lot of homeless want to go somewhere where they can feel somewhat safe. Some of them, you'll see some sleeping out in the open, but majority of them don't like that because somebody can come in and do something bad to them. They would like to be, isolated, away from everybody, but still feel safe. They would do that.
And you and I had talked about this earlier. So out of all of these different types of places that people are currently staying, you had mentioned that there were, a handful of youth that are here in Tyler.
A handful of youth, yes.
So what types of places do you feel like you see them the most in?
So originally they started with Salvation Army. That's where they go. As long as you have an ID, you can go to Salvation Army. Only downside is you got 90 days. After that, then you're out. So once they get out, then they're going to the woods. They're going to the wooded area. Because here in Tyler, we have a lot of resources. We have a lot of people that want to help, which is not a problem if you to want to help people. The problem is we start enabling them and they start expecting it. So for them to get a tent, it's real easy. They can go to Walmart, ask somebody in the parking lot, somebody will buy them a tent. So they'll go in the woods and there'll be 4 or 5 tents in the area. There'll be 18, 19-year-old kids out there and they move around a lot, way more than anyone else when they're that age. I don't know if they're going to and from home or they're just disappearing for a week and then coming back. I'm not sure exactly where they go. I would assume they're going home since they're still that young, and as long as they.
Did you say 8 and 9 or 18 or 19?
18 or 19, yes, sir. So, and then they always, I try to explain to them, this is not where they want to be. And, of course, they're smarter than everybody. And then I was telling Jared earlier, I'll come back, because I always try to check on my newbies. I try and check on them because, this is a doggy dog world. We're not near as bad as Austin or Dallas or Houston, or homeless as far as the fighting and the stabbing. But it's still a doggy dog world. There are fights, they stab each other. I had a lady, I'm breaking off topic, but one of my homeless females, and I'm able to build a rapport with them because, I let them know when I contact them on the street, I get the name, I'll ask the birthday. I don't check them once or anything like that. Because I want to try to have a rapport with them, because if something is happening, I want them to be able to contact me and say, hey, and majority of my homeless have phones. They do. They'll either text me or they'll call me, if they have an issue. But I had this one lady, she said, I said, she had a guy that was standing in a tent where I said, where's he at? And she showed me her neck and said, that sucker cut me. And so I cut him back. I'm looking like, my gosh, how close to death were you or him? But, that's part of the, that lifestyle, so I always try to go back and check with with my newbies. I had the 72-year-old guy that's living out there who's almost 73. He's dropped off I saw him getting dropped off in the wood line over at 31 East, and look what I was telling you about. I saw him getting dropped off, and he had on nice khaki pants. Didn't look the part at all. I thought maybe he was dropping off a tent for someone else. So I give him a chance to get out the car, and he's walking off in there, but the car leaves. And I'm like, well, that don't make sense. So I go follow him, go in there and find him. And he said that he got tired of paying rent. It was too high. And he's just gonna figure out this is the way he's gonna live until he dies. What do you say to somebody like that? What do you do? And I go and check on him at least once a week, at least, because he's 72 years old. And he's like, I'm getting it down now, I'm figuring it out, and that's what he wants. He gets a check every month and he has insurance. He does.
How do they get a check? Where do they get mail to?
Well, he's retired from a job. He said he was a cook. Now, I can only tell you what I was told. He was a cook.
I'm just wondering where they pick up their mail.
Oh, yeah, so the check part, you get that on your card. You don't have to go pick up yeah, you get that on a card. And majority, now, I know that he doesn't get his mail here, but majority of my homeless, there's an address 601 East Valentine. It's a day shelter. There you can go take a shower. You can get your clothes washed. If you trying to find a job, you can get on the computers there. They have an actual program that if whatever habit you have, alcohol or drugs, if you can wean yourself off that habit, then they have a process where they will get you housed and find you a job and get you back on your feet as well. It's through Highway 80 Rescue Mission, but it's at 601 East Valentine here in Tala. So that's where they get their mail at. That's where majority get their mail. So if I'm talking to one, I said, where do you live? For someone I don't know who doesn't look like they're homeless or someone new, and they say 601, then I know that's where they're getting the mail at. Kind of got off subject here a little bit. I'm sorry. But yeah, there's people living in there, and you see all the trash. I'm gonna talk about this later on. Once the neighbors, this particular place, there's not any neighbors because it's in a business area. But normally, once the neighbors find out there's somebody living and there's, it's been junked up or like this here, code enforcement gets a call. Well, what they do is they work up a case on this, what they call a case. I'm just repeating their words. And whoever owns this property is responsible for that. And that's coming out of their pocket, that cleanup. In this particular place, there is a lot of trash. It's been trashed out pretty good. So, you know, the property owners will, you know, like I've talked to the property owner here, and whoever we catch there, we can warn them off the property, tell them they can't come back. But like I said, electricity though. I talked to a guy that put his picture in the PowerPoint, but he was over on his property yesterday. He spoke a little English, and I was like, man, what are you doing there? He's like, you know, we're trying to, you know, we got this little barrier with the language, but I figured out what he was trying to say. He figured out what I was trying to say. And he'd been there probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 days. And his little area was just trash everywhere. And so, but yeah, the property owner has to pay for this, and I'm not sure what it costs. Yes, ma'am. No, you're okay.
So from the last time you did this job to this time, how much worse has it gotten?
Oh, great question. I'd say 10 times the number of homeless. Used to, when I, you know, started dealing with the homeless, a lot of the people I dealt with were what you call, they jumped on a train and go from one part of the United States. Hobos was real big. You had a few that stayed here in Tyler full time, but majority were hobos. And then, you know, so, and I'm talking 10 years ago for Tyler area. Now it's like, man, I've got people, and you'll see some slides. I got people that, you know, that live in abandoned hotels up at 69 North of the Loop. I got people that live in abandoned buildings, abandoned houses. That wasn't like that 10 years ago. Wasn't like that at all. I got people that, of course, living off in the woods. I got people that live in cupboards. I got people living in town on the shrubbery, and you'll see that picture in a minute. And that's one of my, I wish it was something I could do, but there's sometimes, you know, people falling through the crack. Did you have a question on?
In 10 years, it become a lifestyle.
Yes.
That's the terminology for it. It's
Yeah.
become a lifestyle for it. Because it's radical thinkers. It's, like you said, a mental thought process. It's hustlers. It's some of everything. It's a way to buck the system. It's just how they think. I'm gonna do this just because it's a way to say, nah, boo-boo, I'm not gonna do what the government tells me. That's what we're getting. You approach them, they'll tell you exactly how they hustle. I stand here, this is my shift, I go around this corner, I eat, this person comes here, they know who comes, who stands, somebody comes on their property. You heard what I said, their property and their time frame, that person will get taken out. I mean, they open your eyes, and it's crazy to hear it all, but it is an entire lifestyle. It's a hierarchy for who can stand on what's part of a sidewalk, even though they have no rights to the sidewalk, no rights to the median, no rights to the walkway, no rights to the driveway, nothing. I'm not sure how Tyler got on the map, but it is completely different from when he was in it before. Before, like you said, it was hobos. We had a few people. We all go on by name. They didn't bother anybody. They picked up their trash. If you saw their shopping cart, we knew who it belonged to. They would get their shopping cart, they would move along. We knew where they slept. It would be like, no contact and move them along. But these people now, this is something completely different. So we're very happy that Officer Jasper is doing this. Sorry, Ms. J.
No, that's great. I'm glad you're happy that I'm doing what I'm doing. I just give her a whole hour. You have a question?
Kind of, so to add on to that, I'm from the Dallas area. I've been here 6 years. We lived in Richardson, right on the border of Dallas. And we do some law enforcement in the area. And so what they would do is they had several guys, actually and a couple girls, that shared an apartment. And they had each corner of the coming and going Service Road intersection off of LBJ. And they took shifts. And if anybody came and tried to take one of those corners, then they had a backup to come and fight them off.
Oh, yeah.
And one morning, my husband was going to get his breakfast and he said, right in the middle of the intersection, they throw down their signs, you know, that they're asking for money, and they duke it out right in the rush hour traffic because one of them was not assigned to that.
Yeah, somebody's gonna win, somebody's
And
gonna.
they are definitely doing it for drug money.
Yeah.
Says they'll do it long enough to get enough drugs for that day and then move
Yeah.
on till the next day, or the next shift will take it and they'll get enough for theirs.
Yeah.
And so on.
They do. So,
I was just gonna ask, have you seen a big increase in the number of homeless since COVID?
so I wasn't actually doing this position in COVID. What I'm told, it's, you know, from what I've seen since I started this full-time in March, it's grown. I guess because the weather's getting warmer. So we have more people coming in. Last week I met two ladies that that moved down here from Tennessee, Alabama, Louisiana. I mean, they just come here, you know, they're standing off in the woods, and I asked them, I was like, why taller? And they're like, well, we saw on social media where it was a good place to come. It's easy living, because like I said, we're not like the Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin. We're not like that group yet, you know, as far as the cutthroat. And we're standing off in the woods, two ladies, and I was like, you don't feel like, how do you protect yourself? Because, you know, both of them together probably weighed 180 pounds. I mean, they were real small. And they said they had they stayed up at the front of the camp, and they had befriended a couple guys, some of the older guys, like I have a group of guys that live in the same area that's in their 60s. I mean, they just, you know, they told me they befriended them, and that's, you know, that's their safety, because it's, you know, I'll get them all the time, you know, women telling me that, you know, guys attack them and that somebody else will come to the rescue, you know. So what happens that time where nobody comes to the rescue? Well, then they're just a victim. Just a victim.
So have the laws changed, vacancy laws and this kind of thing changed over the years to become more compassionate, that exacerbates this problem because of the lack of consequences?
So
People just accepting?
yeah, that, and we'll see what the Supreme Court says about this. I don't think they've given the final ruling, but we'll see. That could change it all. Supreme Court's talking about now, if you can tell people they have to move their tent off of state property. That's a big deal right now. So the thing that has changed is the funding. We are getting a lot of money. I say we, different groups, the city, state, we're getting a lot of money for homeless. So some of that money is going to a lot of different groups. And because it's going to several different groups, they're doing, you know, I can't say they're doing a lot, but they're doing a little bit for everybody. Well, for most people, as far as your food and clothing. Well, it didn't help the homeless part at all. And that's where where it's, you know, kind of falling in a loop, but there's way more funding, way more groups that help now. I mean, when I was doing this, you know, the first time, there was probably two groups. There was PAD, of course, the Salvation Army, Highway I'm sorry, Gateway to Hope at the time before Highway 80 started running it. And that was about it. I mean, of course, the churches, but now, when I took this position, you'll see a bridge here in a little bit, that I'll talk about, but every night up under that bridge, there was a different group, sometimes 3 groups on Saturday, 3 groups on Sunday, that would come in, give food, clothing, and then move on. Where our homeless, you know, a lot of times, they would get the food, throw it away if it wasn't good to them, or in the clothing, go and sell that. You know, I hear, people saying, well, I hear homeless, especially this one female who knew how to work the different organizations, said, hey, I need a backpack, I need a bicycle. And the lady was like, well, I just bought you a bicycle last week. What'd you do with it? Well, we know what happened to it. You know, that was drug money. That's exactly what happened. Or alcohol, which she's more of a drug person than alcohol. That's exactly what happened to that money that she used to sell that bicycle. I mean, it's just, which, I'm no different than anyone else, I see people and, people ask for help. Now, I'm talking about just, I'm not talking about somebody out on the street, but, somebody comes like, maybe you're at, I don't know, wherever, and someone's like, yeah, I need some help. I've been known to do that. I mean, if you catch somebody at the right time, and I'm not saying, a lot of money, but, $1 or $2, and you're like, okay, well, I did my good deed. Did I really do a good deed? Yeah.
What about gypsies? Are you be seeing very many gypsies? It seems to me that we've seen a lot more coming in probably within the last year.
Yes, ma'am. But they've always been around. Used to, they would read your, your hand, they would read your palm, they would, tell you your future. Yeah, and so I'm not 100% sure on this, but I was told that is the bottom line of getting into these different groups. First, you go out and you beg, you get money that way, because they have several ways that they're getting money into a big group. And but yeah, you do, especially the ones with the kids. That's exactly what they are. They just, they
Usually
use.
not their kids either, because I ran into that in Dallas.
Well, the couple that I'm talking about in Tyler, that is their kids. I think they have 2 now. That is their kids. But yeah, I'm sure, you go to the larger cities, then yeah. And then now with summertime, I see even more kids. I'm talking about little kids walking with their parents who are homeless, which I don't know how I have no idea how that happens. I really don't. This one.
I have a question regarding when you see homeless people with their kids, so do you report that at all?
No.
No?
No.
You don't report that?
Well, because what am I gonna say? It's not illegal to be homeless. I don't know whoever I will report it, I don't know what they could do.
Right.
I mean,
It's a child in a home.
That's what I'm
yeah, I mean,
That's
for
what
us,
we're talking about.
yeah,
Child
and that would be
protection.
great if there was like a law to actually to do that. It's summertime, no school. I mean, what do you do? I mean, yeah,
If the parent was intending from the child in some sort of danger, and we can see, yes, but to be homeless at the time, but you're providing that child some sort of shelter and water, then there's nothing that we can do. So
Oh,
it's always a fine line
it's horrible.
that we're walking from the building.
I'm sorry, Jerry.
So kind of go off this conversation, we did have somebody ask in the chat if you have seen a correlation between youth that have left the foster care system that then become homeless.
Yeah. So unfortunately, the youth, and I'm not trying to generalize everybody that leaves the foster care system, but a lot of times when they get out on their own from the foster care, I hate to say this, a lot of times they get in trouble. They get in trouble. So I do see a lot of them, they get out of jail and they'll go to the woods and stay, until they get in trouble again. Then it's a revolving door. It's just, I get in trouble, go to jail, I get out, I go to the woods, and it's just, I hate to say that, but That's what happens, with a lot of the kids that I deal with like that, and I call them kids, heck, they're, 18, 19 years old. I got kids older than them, so. Trying to think of where I was at.
In the vortex of things, sometimes it becomes almost impossible to get out.
Yes,
Nobody wants to hire you, you don't have any money. You don't have any family.
one of the saddest things that I've dealt with is, before this job, I was a background investigator, man, I did the hiring for the police department. All different positions, not just police. All of it. So I'm talking to this young lady who's 19 years old. She was a foster, left Washington. Or somewhere up there, left there, she's here. And so I'm just talking to her about her life and trying to see if she's gonna fit. And she talks about being taken advantage of. And she said it so nonchalant. I'm thinking, okay, I'm not gonna touch this. I'm not comfortable with talking to you about this. But she keeps on talking about it. How this time with this foster, how this time with this foster, how this, so it was normalized to her. And she didn't think anything of it. It's like, yeah, all foster kids are like that. And I'm just letting her talk because I don't want to touch that. And man, that's horrible. But that's
Sexual assault.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yep. Yeah, it's horrible.
In foster care.
In foster care. Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
So anyway, I'm kind of getting off topic here. I hate that. I just, it's just, I'm a big advocate for kids. I really am.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
when something bad happens to kids, boy, it does me the wrong way. So back to the types of homelessness. So you talk about those 18, 19-year-olds. This is somewhere they would go after the Salvation Army. Something like this. This particular person, you'll see in a minute, kind of picks up after themselves. You can kind of see a rake right there. So you know that they're trying to pick up after themselves, which in this section, or actually all sections of the woods that I go to, I tell them if they're gonna be here, you have to clean up after yourselves. Now, some of them don't understand that because they're not able to take care of themselves, even if they had a house, because of that mental he was talking about earlier. So this person's, cleaning up, got a barbecue pit. Like I said, I took this picture yesterday. That's here in Tulsa. That's a functioning homeless person, meaning they could probably go get a job if they wanted to. A lot of times they don't want to. You see this camp here is really clean. That's another functioning group. This is part of in the area where my guys that are about 60 to 65-year-olds live in this area right here. And they do take pride in their area as far as the cleanliness. And also if somebody comes in that doesn't have the same way of thinking they do, it's survival. They'll all group up and they'll kick them out. And I'll go back in there and I'll ask, what happened to such and such? We didn't agree. Whoever, sometimes they call the police, but a lot of times they police themselves. It's, whoever can throw the best hook or the strongest knockout blow, that's the winner, and that's how that goes. Yes, ma'am.
But I have a question. This is what I'm trying to understand. How do they find, there's a lot of rules. How do they find the rules? Right? So I'm just gonna go over here and it's a neighborhood. It's having people out there. How do they find?
So this particular account, which is probably not the biggest, but might be the biggest, or one of the top 2 largest camps. Other people, homeless people, tell them, hey, go to this area.
I've been to that one.
Yeah.
Is that by the bridge?
Yes, this one is by the bridge, which used to be the biggest camp, not anymore. We got some that's way bigger than that, wooded camps. You'd be amazed, like I said earlier, I've seen winter cupboards. I'm talking about water drains. People living in it. I mean, amazed. And I'm looking at it like, man, how did you find this? Because driving, you'll never see them. I mean, you won't see them. You don't. So, but I've seen that. And this particular lady that was living in a cupboard, you could tell that she was in her right frame of mind, had just become homeless because she had a pallet. Everybody know what a pallet is? Something that you put stuff on and forklift. She turned that pallet up straight, and each level of the pallet, she had a clothes stacked in, just like she was in a house in a dresser. Had a little makeshift clothesline, had her clothes on there. Later on, I see her, and she's living in that. She's living in this building right here. And she's a completely different person. She didn't care. I mean, the smell, the taking care of herself, that's all gone. It's kind of like, I don't know if she just gave up or mental illness started setting in. I don't know. I hadn't been able to talk to her for an extended period of time because she's a fast talker and it's just hard to keep up with her sometimes. So, but yeah, so these are functioning. I think there's a clothesline with some clothes hanging up. They're functioning. You can see the bag trash. I'm real big now on the trash because, man, some of these places, the city, I work with solid waste and I work with code enforcement. And we clean up a lot of different sites, whether it's some of the commercial building that you saw earlier, these woods here, we're cleaning up a lot of that stuff because we know that, cleanliness, if you don't have cleanliness, you can catch all kinds of diseases. So I'm real big on telling them, keep your area clean. If you don't keep your area clean, you got to go. I mean, it's not my property. I just know that this particular area here, the owner is a railroad, which around the country, you'll see homeless around those right of way things that belong to the state, things that big places like that. Now, individual business owners, you wouldn't see this because they're probably going out checking it from time to time. All the time this gets checked, if somebody goes up on those railroad tracks and does something silly, which has happened. And we've had to clear everybody out. And, of course, it starts over. And I tell them all, you stay away from the railroad tracks. Don't cause a big commotion because we've had people that die off in there, get stabbed. Then you'll probably be okay for a while off in here because a lot of times they just want a place to go and call their home. You want to say that, call their home. I stopped and got out and took a picture of this particular spot. Normally, if you're just driving, you would never see it. I mean, you just wouldn't see it. And it's in the woods and you're driving like 5-10 miles an hour. You ain't going real fast. So, and those people, that person there, I didn't take pictures of some of the more creative camps. There's camps in there that are camouflage. Literally, I had a guy, there's a guy off in here, and I think he's on this side. I think he's on this, not this here, but he cleared out his camp, then he went and got poison ivy, put it up around him like a fence. Yeah, exactly. I was like, why are you doing that? He's like, I was Jasper, just keep people out. I was like, is that poison ivy? He's like, yes, sir. I said, man, you're different. Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah, and that person that thinks like that, they could go get a job.
Yeah.
I mean, he could get a job. I mean, he's got, he's functioning pretty well, I think. That's another camp in the woods. So, people, this was new to me when I come back. People talking about car camping. Never heard of that till, the guy that was camping up under the Gentry Bridge. I said, are you camping under the bridge? He said, no, sir. And then he said, well, technically I am. I said, what do you mean? Either you are or you're not. He said, I'm car camping. meaning that he's living in his RV. Now, I didn't take, this is one of those pictures I did not take a picture of yesterday, but,
Is it that nice?
no,
No.
not at all. But on social media, you know, you see this is what it's like, oh man, that's cool, that doesn't look too bad, you know? Reality, you know, you'll have, you know, car camping, this is another picture I didn't take, and then this guy here, I didn't want to get too close, only because I respecting his privacy, you know, even though it's not his property, but I, you know, like I said, I try not to mess with, you know, get too close. But this guy here, he calls himself Uncle Preacher. From Dallas, he's coming down here to save our lost souls down here. Uncle Preacher is probably almost 80 years old.
Wow.
He's been living, that truck, the bed of that's a wood frame in the back there. That's all wood. And he built that. He's, you know, he's pretty much up under the bridge there area. He's pretty much like the sheriff. Not because he can, you know, outfight everybody, he can out-talk everybody. And he really does. And but he car camping. He's not the person I was talking about earlier, but he's car camping. He can actually take that wood frame down on back of his truck when he's riding around town. It collapses. In that area there, he's got like a barbecue pit, and he's got a lot of wood that he makes other little things with. But you know, he's been here. I guess he made it here about the same time I started full time back in March. But he does car camps. Something I've seen that didn't happen as much as I see way more of this, but they're not off in the woods. Normally they're, you know, your business parking lots. You know, you know, once I started looking for it, I bet when I start my shift at 6 in the morning. And so I try to get out before, you know, people start moving around. I can go to riding my businesses. I haven't been able to do it a lot because it's just me until I get more. Oh man, I'm gonna hurry up. Until I get more, until I get more help. There's probably, I don't know, I bet I've counted 30 in I guess from one side of the loop to the other side, from Front Street to Front Street, of people living in their cars. I mean, they've got the shades like you would on a house in the front, all the sides, and that's how they're living. This is not taken yesterday. This picture, this is an internet picture. This is very similar to what it looked like when I was when I started trying to clear up under the bridge. This is the Gentry Bridge, and it did look something like that when I first started this. Like I said, March was full time, but in February I started getting out the office a little bit, trying to work on this project to get it clean, because all the neighbors were terrified to drive this area. It was again, there was just homeless everywhere, and the smell was horrible, horrible, horrible. Yes, ma'am.
All right, I just have a random question, because you said that people who live near that area are terrified. From what you've seen, do you think the homeless people who are out there are generally pretty violent, or if you were just walking down the street?
Violent?
Mess with you?
No,
Yeah.
but thieves, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, thieves. I mean, it's just, I mean, they see something that they don't have and you got it, you know, you sit down and then you turn your back and next thing you know, it's gone.
Okay.
So, yeah, so the residents, you know, they complain about, you know, theft a lot. As far as just getting jumped, attacked, no, not really.
We walked that area right before or right during the time that he started over there. And we did knock talks to the residents, and they were explaining, just a whole list of things that the homeless were doing. When he said how they were giving out all of this clothes and stuff, They said they were finding clothes in their front yards, they were finding foods all over the place. They were finding, people inside the bed of their trucks. They were finding, having relations in front of their yards. They had their vehicles stolen, they had their, barbecue pit stolen. It was just a whole list of things that were taking place, so.
At some point under this bridge, someone thought it was a good idea to drop off mattresses up under there.
Yeah.
Wow.
You think you helping, but then the other side is sexual assaults went up. And you got freaking mattresses there. All the Johns come swarming that area because all those mattresses there. So, I mean, I guess that person thought it was a good idea. They're helping somebody get off the ground, but then the after effects is just pretty amazing.
So we had a couple of advocates in the chat that were kind of curious about our previous statement that the two of y'all had made earlier, and that was about the relationship between when you would intervene if there was a child involved versus not.
Mhm.
Because, you know, at CASA, we do have like the minimum sufficient level of care, and we talk about that in our, you know, new advocate training. But what are some examples of maybe a time where you've seen a child involved where you didn't make a report versus when you would make a report?
So like last week, I saw, a homeless person walking with two kids, they're walking. I know that person's homeless. Maybe they got a place to stay, while they got the kids. I don't know, and I can't just butt off into a business. Legally, I can ask questions, but legally, I can only do so much. If it's hot and they're sitting in the heat, that's not good. I mean, this week, if I see a parent, I've grown up with some kids that's just sitting out there in the heat. Well, I'm gonna make a phone call and say, hey, can y'all at least talk to them about, kids in the heat because of heat exhaustion, something to that effect. I hadn't seen it like kids get hurt, as far as hit or beat, nothing like that. If it's school, during the school, and they're out there in the woods, yes, I say something there. Before I took this position, we had a camp out on the lake, and there were two small kids there, and we kept on reporting them because it's during school. Kids need to be at school, but obviously they're not if they're out, living in a camp in the woods. So those are the times that we would, the laws are, we can't just, just go and, hey, these kids are in a bad situation, come with me. Then we could get charged with kidnapping or, something bad. Homeless, I'm sorry, go ahead.
But no, you made a comment that, I mean, right now, you're it, right? I mean.
Yes, sir.
And I think you made a comment a little bit ago about they're gonna be giving you some help. Hopefully.
Yes, sir.
What I see is it takes a real special person to do what you do.
It does.
I mean, you gotta be caring, you gotta be compassionate, you gotta be non-confrontational. I mean, you've gotta really dial it down and you do. I mean, I can see.
And that's why I let them know ahead of time, this is what I'm here for. And I explain to them, something happens to you, I want to be able to make sure that first off, if I don't know who you are and we got to send your fingerprints to find out who you are, your family, it could be months before your family realizes something bad happened to you. And so that kind of will get most of them, going, and they'll start, talking with me, talking to me. And then I go by and I ask them, just how you doing?
Yeah.
And they're looking at me like, no, I just want to know how you're doing. Everything all right? And I'll give them my card. Hey, if you have an issue, then, let me know. So yeah. Hopefully we will get some more help. Hopefully there'll be 4 of us, in the next year. That way, I can have a nice PowerPoint for you guys and so getting close to the end, homelessness, the motels. We have them here in Tyler, abandoned, and people live in them, and that's just part of it. This next one is kind of why I'm doing what I'm doing because of this type of situation right here. You see the shrubbery there?
Yeah.
This is a homeless person. Can you see him? Sort of, kind of.
Yep.
See him? This is the kind of stuff that really irritates me. He's caught in the system, you know. Mentally, he doesn't have the capability of going to get help. I can get him to one of the some mental health somewhere, and you know, he doesn't have the capacity to go get his medication. He doesn't have the money to get it. So he's just caught. And you know, that kind of, you know, that's, yeah, it's sad. And, you know, unfortunately, the only times he see me is when he's told he's got to move on to the next place. You know, unfortunately, and that's not the kind of relationship that I want with my homeless, because I want to be able, whenever you get off of your alcohol or drugs, I want to be able to get you to a treatment center. And then from there, you go and get you a job and then a place, you know. So that's what I want to do. But yeah, he's just caught up, and he's lived under the bridge. He's lived, I don't know. A guy told me today when an officer said that they had to tell him he couldn't stay there. So I don't know where he'll go from there. Somewhere close to the location. And then getting close to the end, you know, I was talked to you earlier about homeless. A lot of the times, the people that you see here in Tyler, they are not homeless. And like I said earlier, you know, I'm not going to tell you or try to explain to you how to, you know, give your funds out. You know, I'm not going to explain that because, you know, everybody, you know, needs help. I mean, that's just the way I was raised, and I'm sure most of you were raised that way. But a lot of times, man, they're using that money that you give them for that, and it's, you know, it's a sad deal, but that's what it is. That's what happens. And the more that we give here, the longer we'll have the, you know, people doing just this. I mean, on a Sunday, a guy tells me he stands in front of a Walmart and makes $250 in 4 hours.
Wow.
You tell me.
Wow.
You know, and like I said, I have a rapport with them, so they have a reason to lie to me, or, you know, I didn't make any money. Oh, I talk to them just like you and I are talking, and they'll respond back, and, you know, they'll even, they tell me stuff I don't want to know. Something like the lady told me about you know, her neck, you know, they'll tell me, they tell me things that, you know, if I was you know, I said, if I was a police that I was trying to, I would be going to make busts left and right, but I'm trying to get them off the street. You know, I want to, not through the jail system, I want to get them off the street into, you know, productivity. So we're really helping them when they're homeless like that. At Front and Beckham, there was a guy that said, I need $1. Give me, I didn't get a word, I took a picture of it, but he had a cardboard just like that, and they call them flags. He had a flag just like that, and it said, something to the effect, give me $1, I want to get high. And you would be, people were giving him money for it. I mean,
At least he was honest.
he was honest. He was honest. The cleanup part, that's, you know, that's a lot of money involved in that. They're cleaning up with the city. And then if the city doesn't do it, then it falls back on the property owner. And, you know, the property owners, you know, that's not where they want to spend their money, paying somebody to clean up. So there's all kind of different parts to this. It gets horrible. And there'll be, you know, the pee and feces smell. And I bet I probably stepped in more feces than anybody at the police department. I hate to say that, but the nature of my job, and I'm very careful, but, you know, sometimes it just happens. We've gone through the questions. This is me. If you have any questions, if I can do anything to help, I'm going to get a better PowerPoint at some point. Just now, I don't have.
That was good.
That was great.
I don't have the time because I'm out trying to you know, take care of my home. Yes, sir.
Officer Jasper, with what you do, and I think most people would be very happy that you do what you do. But if resources weren't a problem, you could do whatever it is you needed to do, what would you do to fix this problem?
Probably the start would be getting everybody on the same page. Right now, you know, I tell this to my supervisors, I tell this to the mayor, I tell this, we got a lot of people that gives out food, gives out clothes. Okay, so we're all working against each other. Whereas if we kind of got together, well, then this person gives out food, this person, I mean, that way we're all working together. I won't necessarily say housing because, you know, you see some people live in a house or, you know, stand and they trash it up as well. But, you know, if we started all working together as one, you know, unified, then we could actually, you know, be a help for everybody else. So yeah. I would say housing, but man, there should be steps, kind of like it is now to get to the housing. First, get rid of whatever addiction you have and then go from there. Yep.
Last question I would have is, in your experience, what percentage of the homeless population that you've seen in this area are people that are would do different if they could, that no circumstance that they, or the circumstances are out of their control, they lost their house, they lost their job, they got themselves in trouble or for whatever reason, they can't get another job and they found themselves. Versus the people that want to be out there, that want to do drugs, or whatever. What percentage of the homeless population are those people that just happen to find themselves in the circumstance?
Yeah. So because I see people that just you know, lose their house to people that have just don't care. I would say probably 1 out of 20 will actually get back to where they're going. My group of 60-year-old males, since I've been doing this and they've been out in that camp, 2 of them are left. They've actually got a place to stay and they're back. And their thing is a bill come up, they unexpected and they got evicted. And so they have to kind of go to the woods and make their money up. I've got guys in these woods that work daily jobs, work daily, trying to get out of it. So, I mean, they're trying, you know, just, you know, a lot of people don't know about the resources. That's where I come in to try and help. Yep. Any other questions?
I do. How does the city feel about panhandling? So you don't ticket, it's not misdemeanor?
It is. It's a Class C misdemeanor. It's a citation just like for speeding. Yes, I have not ticketed. Well, I guess I have one time since I've been back. But they were on the highway. They're on the loop, 45-mile-an-hour traffic, and they're stepping out in the traffic. Man, I'm gonna have to work a fatality if they get run over. So I try to explain to them, but that's, you know, eventually I just cited them for it. The city doesn't want it. But right now, I say everybody, all our hands are tied as far as I can issue a citation. Do they have to pay it? Do they go to jail for not paying it? No. Because of staffing, you know, I can write a ticket all day. It's not, you know, it's not doing anything other than building up. So it's kind of like until staffing gets back and, you know, we can start holding people accountable again for this. Because a lot of those that are out there, they don't want a ticket. They don't. But now that they know that, well, I'm not going to go to jail. I'm not, you know, really there's nothing happening right now, then why not keep doing it? Yes, ma'am.
But on the flip side, I think if we call them and bring more attention to them just being moved along, then, you know, they'll get used to the fact that we don't want them here.
Yeah.
Because we're fighting with the people that do give them handouts.
Oh, yeah.
You know, on that corner. So if you call it in, then
yeah,
it gets uncomfortable for them.
Right.
To stand there every day.
Yeah, and so and it happens, like I said, last week, I'm moving a couple along from the 4th and Broadway. Well, I can only stay so long because I got a whole lot of, and the same thing with a patrol officer. We can stay so long. And they know what they're doing. And then the next patrol officer comes through and see them and they say, hey, move on. They move. then you got a whole different patrol officer come, so. I mean, they kind of know, they're not dumb, they figured out the system. They are. Man, I was wondering how I was gonna make an hour. No, that's good, but this is just gonna help me when I get ready for when I start building my PowerPoint on what to do. I just, like I said, when I was asked if I had a PowerPoint yesterday, I was like, I don't right now, but I will before I get here.
Well, we didn't miss it.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
Pictures.
Well, I appreciate it. Like I said, this is my contact number. If you have anything for Officer Loftus back there, you can just shoot me an email or call me and I will get it to her.